Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be your co-moderator for this breakout session 3. It gives me great honor to introduce Dr. Clement Sankat, President of the University of Belize. Dr. Sankat will be sharing with us on how the University of Belize is responding to the pandemic challenges by providing a synopsis on the interrelated factors and mitigation measures adopted by the University of Belize. At the end of this session, there will be a 5-minute question and answer segment. So let's all enjoy this session. Dr. Sankat, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. And let me sincerely apologize for my lateness. It's not me, but the technology failed at the moment that I was about to speak. My dear colleagues of COBEC, leaders of institutions both within Belize and in the US, greetings from our University of Belize as we engage in this winter meeting. It seems like only yesterday we hosted the 32nd COBEC conference at our new Belmopan Conference Center in early February 2020. It is a pleasure, therefore, to meet you again for this conference. But what a different world we live in and work in. A world where today there are 103 million cases of this COVID disease that has resulted in 2.24 million deaths, with 447,000 in the US, with 457,000 cases in the Caribbean and 6,700 deaths, with a high of 2,600 deaths in the Dominican Republic, the DR as we say, but with 0 deaths in countries like Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and some of our very small islands. In Belize, with a population of near 400,000, there are 301 deaths reported. While in Trinidad and Tobago, my home country, with a population of near 1.4 million, there are 134 deaths reported. Latin America and the Caribbean remain the regions with the highest COVID death rates, a third of the world's total. And that is in the environment in which we are operating, a really, truly challenging, unimaginable environment. As I speak, the COVID pandemic seems to bring no respite to many countries globally, including some in our Caribbean. The Barbados Prime Minister was reported to have instructed, bring back lockdown to bring COVID-19 infections under control. This was just a week and a half ago. And this lockdown is going to run from February the 3rd to February 17th. And she said, you must stay at home. And travel to and from Barbados has been severely restricted. Now, this is a country with 10 deaths reported, one that is famous globally for its tourism industry, and one which had reopened its borders after initial outbreak. Trinidad and Tobago, from March the 22nd, 2020 to date, is one of those countries, few countries that has closed its borders since that time. It has never been reopened. Our airport is closed for regular flights, and our land borders also remain closed. Many Caribbean and our land borders, like in Belize, remain closed. Our sea borders in Trinidad are being patrolled because there's a lot of illegal migration from countries like Venezuela. But while Belize has opened its airport, its land border remains closed. Many Caribbean countries are grappling with the possibilities of reopening primary and secondary schools so as to support the teaching and learning of our young kids. But the deadlines keep getting extended and never clearer. So we do have current challenges. At the tertiary level, invariably, universities like the University of the West Indies, on all our campuses, the University of Belize, the University of Trinidad and Tobago, have moved to online education, with many student and faculty activities brought to a screeching halt. Residences and residence life and campus inns are shuttered, and student sporting and extracurricular activities have been put on ice, as they have been, unfortunately, at UB. Since the 22nd of March, 2020, the University of Belize closed its door, and our normal ways of doing things, our lives and our livelihoods have been altered in dramatic ways. The pandemic brought with it impacts that were unimaginable before, impacts associated with health and safety, and so a near shuttering of our campuses, following the national guidelines of health and safety of our employees and students, the maintenance of essential services of our administrative staff, the ability to work from home with rotations, etc. Let me say our campuses without our students, who are the heart of the university enterprise, and with many employees not physically present, have gone very, very quiet. In fact, for me, eerily so. Student and learning. After weeks of lockdown, we took the decision after the Easter break last year, in May 2020, to go fully online. This decision was taken after we hurriedly consulted with our students. And let me say, of our 5,000 students, 4,000 responded mainly positively, and to their credit, that we should go online. The alternative was not a good one, closing. Online education was always a part of our transformational plan, but only 15% of our courses were previously delivered online. Online training of faculty was also an integral part of this transformation, but unfortunately, not many availed themselves of this. There was not a priority. Let me say our Open and Distance Learning Center and our ICT department providing yeoman service to get this teaching modality rolled out to 5,000 students in a hurry. So face-to-face learning has gone silent, with the exception of some laboratory and experiential courses, appropriately conducted, of course. Then there were technology challenges. Our students in some far-flung parts of Belize face real challenges with access to the internet. The University of Belize intervened and appealed for help from the government and the internet providers. There was some relief. Some had and still do have challenges with access to an appropriate laptop computer, and some of our students use smartphones. But this is changing as we appeal to our students to acquire the appropriate devices. Bearing in mind the challenges they faced, we opened our IT labs on all our campuses to support such students with difficulties. And in our campus down in the deep south in Punta Gorda, I'm pleased to say that our students are using those facilities. One of our biggest challenges related to finances. With the collapse of many tourist service-driven economies in our small states, severe financial challenges have emerged in many of our Caribbean countries. Cost-cutting, job losses have become the norm. Our University of Belize was not spared, as we received a 25% cut in our government subvention. And as a university, we decided ourselves to curtail any increases in tuition, and in fact, we reduced fees. The net result is that we had to reduce our own costs. We had to get agreement with our union. We reshaped and reduced our budget by 25%. We strove to achieve a balance between income and expenditure. Inevitably, and sadly so, for me personally, many of our support staff were separated, although we kept our academic faculty intact so as to support our core business of teaching and learning. But all were affected, subjected to tiered salary cuts ranging from 22 to 5%, increments were frozen, etc. All difficult decisions which negatively impacted our people. A technology grant was introduced for faculty, as was a laptop loan scheme to support the online delivery of teaching. And then there are the psychosocial challenges. While there are no Belizean studies to treat with this subject, there are global studies, some of which I quote here, on the impact of COVID-19 on young people. And while it is universally reported that this group is minimally susceptible to the COVID virus, they are impacted psychosocially by this pandemic. Quarantined at home, closure of schools and universities, and the interactions that occurs there, coping with new learning technologies and lack of sporting and other social activities, for example, can promote distress, impatience, annoyance, and varied neuropsychiatric manifestations. Hence, as administrators, we need to be mindful and understanding when we witness the sometimes erratic outbursts of students challenged by the sudden new environment of engagement, or some may say non-engagement. Employees themselves, including our lecturers, are challenged by the new learning tools, by the financial stresses of job losses or salary cuts. And hence, we have witnessed isolated but severe erratic behavior. The quality of our teaching and learning is also a challenge. The macro data will no doubt show that our university, like many who are suddenly faced into e-learning, have been successful. For example, we concluded the academic year 2019-20 in June, producing our largest graduating class ever, 1,193 students. We also completed the first semester of this academic year, albeit with somewhat reduced student numbers. And now as the year began, we are into semester 2, with over 400 courses delivered online using the Moodle MLS platform as the official way to go. We had challenges with this at the beginning of the last semester, but I'm really pleased to say this semester, this has been a very smooth start. Like many universities, we were simply not fully prepared last year and faced many challenges. The first being access to the technology by our students and even some faculty, and secondly, our teachers' ability to deliver online courses. That we succeeded, no doubt, is due to the sheer institutional determination by both teachers and students and administrators, as this reflected the necessity of the time we live in, and creativity and innovation was required. There is all the evidence as I speak that UB is getting better at this. And I want to commend our ODL and our ICT department for the work they have done, including the training that they have provided to both faculty and students. While there is evidence as I speak that UB is getting better at this, 5 issues continue to challenge us. 1, our teachers' confidence, knowledge, and comfort in using the e-learning tools effectively. The interaction and communication feedback in this virtual environment between teacher and student, and that continues to be a major challenge. Capturing the steady attention of our students, engaging them in this online environment. A matter that is of considerable concern personally is the integrity of our examinations in particular and assignments in general in this online environment. How much confidence can we place on this is a cause of concern. Even as we address this through technology usage and stronger QA measures. And fifthly, from an administrative perspective, strengthening our online customer service, service to our students, service to our stakeholders. These were problematic even in good face-to-face times. And the challenges remain in this new environment. But it is a work in progress. So what have we learned as leaders in a time of crisis? As an engineer myself, I've often said to my students, necessity is the mother of invention. And this has proven true. Our university has demonstrated this. This is one time our university could not be admonished for failure to act. Universities are frequently scolded for failure to act. As leaders, we took charge of the challenges we faced. Our initiatives at a time of crisis may not have been executed to perfection, but we accomplished our major goals to date, and as an institution of learning ourselves, we continue to review and learn, and will get better with time, as we are witnessing as I speak. As leaders, we should not condone failure. This will occur as we create and change. However, failure must be used as a learning lesson and not as a punitive act. With respect to COBEC and international partnerships, of which I had previously spoken at a COBEC meeting, at a time of crisis, we must prioritize our actions. My priority at this time is a focus on enhancing our teaching and learning in this online environment. All must be made exponents at this. What experience and best practices can our institutions in this COBEC fraternity share? How can our more developed partners assist in training our teachers and administrative staff to address some of the 5 issues I raised? Instructional development in a structured, continuous, and outcome-oriented manner is a pressing need at our university. Any possible assistance in this manner from our partners will be appreciated. And let me at this time acknowledge the support of UTT Tyler and Dean West Hickey for assisting our ODL team led by Dr. Frida Palmer. My hope is that this partnership between UB and UTT can be deepened, can be widened, and can be emulated by other partners for us to succeed or help us to succeed. Our gains at UB today, driven by the multifaceted COVID-19 challenges we faced, including the possibility of shuttered university, need to be strengthened. Universities need to learn from this pandemic about the need for preparedness in a time of crisis, whether a natural environmental crisis or a man-made one. Getting your house in order to face any eventuality, whether it's people, resources, including the finances, infrastructure, etc., as we do not know what tomorrow brings, must be a steady priority of our universities. Let me say, university leaders are always, many times, quietly addressing crisis or challenges in their universities. They're hardly public outbursts on these. We always face them, but address them in a determined and steady manner to achieve success. So as I close, what will our new normal look like? And when will this come? This, I imagine, is the big question university leaders face today as they plan for the near future in still an uncertain environment. Will it mainly be online with face-to-face practicals, as we're doing now? Will it be universally or selectively a blended modality? Or will it be back to where we were with face-to-face teaching and learning? Each of these have their own strengths and weaknesses, as you know. What best works for a large, by Caribbean standards, geographically dispersed and remote student population like Belize, where the tertiary enrollment rate is subpar, probably in the single digits, and with students and parents experiencing financial difficulty with respect to a cost of university education? The answer must lie in meeting the needs of our students or principal stakeholders. what are their needs and how can we best fill them? How do our students wish to be instructed? And what are they willing to contribute or to pay for this? Students in Belize and their ability to meet current tuition and fees has proven to be extremely challenging. As we go forward, I am sensing from the surveys that we are doing that we may be surprised by the guidance our students are providing as they all continue to experience and learn in this new online modality. The question remains, what will this be in the near future? As I close, it is only through exemplary leadership, steady dialogue and communication in our institutions, and with our partners that support us, that we can build the environment for trust and to be prepared to deliver on change. The last year has shown that UB can succeed in a time of crisis, difficult as it was. And I commend my colleagues at the University of Belize and our partners for this. We need to rally around each other for the well-being of our institution as we continue to be prepared for change. I sincerely thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sankat. Now the floor is open for any questions or comments.
Yes, I have a question. This is Dr. Hodge. Hello, can you hear me, Dr. Sankat?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear, my friend.
Yes, okay. I may have missed whether you discussed how your online program is progressing. If I did, then I'm sorry, but would you comment a little bit on some of the specific challenges you're facing with online instruction and how you're going about rectifying that?
Well, I did speak to it, but just briefly, the first challenge was the technology access. And that was particularly difficult for our students, especially those in remote, far-flung areas of Belize. I don't know how much you know the country, but there are some really remote parts of Belize, and internet access in particular was poor. We got our IT providers to try to put some hotspots in some of these areas, while we ourselves opened up our campus facilities like in the Deep South, Toledo area. Beyond that, from the delivery side, we continue to instruct our teachers on online education. And I think Dr. Palmer, our director of the ODL, may be listening and can add to this. We have been constant in supporting the training of our teachers, steady. And as I indicated, the partnership we forged with UTT Tyler was a good one to help support the training of our teachers in online education. And we hope that through this COBEC relationship, more of this can be done. More of this in a structured, continuous basis with clear outcomes to be met in the training of our teachers. We also supported the training of our students in online delivery. So we have had a very active program of training the trainers. And I think addressing those two issues were some of the biggest movers of the online and distance program. And we are beginning to see real success now as we speak. I don't know if Dr. Palmer is there and she wishes to add anything.
I'm here, President. I think you've covered most of it. It's really the technology access the professional development, which is just the preparedness of the faculty, the staff, the e-learning environment as well, and of course, student preparedness. So I think you've covered it all.
Thank you, Doug.
No, thank you.
Dr. Sankat, it's a pleasure to see you, and I must say that we went through a similar challenges ourselves, especially the period of the last years from March on, having to adjust to the online. We met this, of course, fall semester, much better prepared, but we have been, our governmental supervisory body, the system, Georgia system, has postulated that will be open on face-to-face online. A combination of actually face-to-face. This is our modus operandi. What happened is, though, that the very health prevention strategy turned us into a hybrid, because we cannot have, for example, we generally, if we have 30 students in a class, generally we cannot, by the requirements, have more than 10 to 12 in a classroom. So we had to introduce a rotating system that 1/3 of the students, roughly speaking, would come and sit in a class while the others will participate online. This is something that helped to keep the cohesion with the students. The many even graduate programs had to introduce also a hybrid system of individualized education for those few that have been graduating in their last semester. And finally, I agree absolutely with you that this challenge that the virus and the quarantines presented also opportunities to think creatively and to think for a better support and coordination and networking across the system, and specifically within COBEC. For example, it's the opportunities now, for example, it's with us for the online cost of online education is set for both domestic and international students. So we could use that as a form of support of students that will be guided as a cohort, let's say, by a partner institution that may decide to charge certain fee, but to take the classes, the online classes, because in reality, let's say in even a business program, MBA program, the reminder is for that still exists for a optional practical training, working in the industries within the states for the next year is required 2 semesters of residency, which could be shortened to spring and let's say summer semester. So these options are something that we need really to talk about, to have more often conferences with particular focus on what tools and to be used in what specific academic area and so forth, so on and so forth. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much, Doc, for sharing the experience of your university. And I think this is where we can learn from each other. And I was quite interested to listen to you about delivering simultaneously face-to-face classes and online classes. And it's probably where we may eventually have to go, but we have to build the technological infrastructure to do that, to be able to simultaneously carry our teaching online as in a face-to-face environment. And just like you, with the social distancing being proposed, we couldn't in our small classrooms have the spacing that is required. It was simply impossible. So yes, we can learn from each other. And let me also say that the online experience can now allow us to collaborate even more than before, because we have shrunk the concept of distance. We are speaking here and you are there, and it's like we are together. So there's a lot more that we can do now that we are more confident with this online platform. So I look forward to more collaboration with my COBEC friends. And especially, in addition to the training and enhancing the teacher development, some of our faculty doing graduate courses online in the COBEC universities at preferential rates, of course.
And I hope that the ministry will buy into that option too, to assist with the process financially.
Thank you. By the way, your picture is coming very nice and clear. And it looks like a very nice day there in
no, it's a fake background. My office doesn't face that prison.
Yes.
I guess we have time for one more question or comment.
I would like to make a comment and a question. I admire University of Belize for going online for as long as they have. Valdosta State was brought back, as Ivan said, face-to-face, hybrid, and some online in the fall. In the spring, they have asked that our face-to-face options equal the number of face-to-face classes we taught in 2019. So we are now teaching an increasing number of face-to-face classes with a request that we limit the number of hybrids we teach, and they're trying to assign us to bigger and bigger classrooms. It's a very nerve-wracking thing to be doing right now, as numbers have gone so high in the US just since December and January. So I admire the fact that y'all are taking the health seriously and staying online.
Thank you very much. And I think I understand and empathize with academics who are being asked one day to do work this way, another day to work that way, and they have enough challenges as we speak. So we are on the online platform, and as I said, our surveys that are being done by our open and distance learning show that we're getting better at it. And as I said in my presentation, I don't know what our students would want, even as this pandemic ends, because they themselves seem to be getting much more comfortable with this. And one of the things that I have detected is that they are extremely happy with the flexibility of online learning in terms of managing their personal time, including many students who are working students. I think each country will have its own solutions to the challenges, whether it's online, blended, or back to face-to-face. But I think at the University of Belize, we have to think it through very carefully as we go forward and not stop and start and chop and change and bring additional stresses to all our people.
Professor Sankat, I apologize for taking again time of the whole group here, but we have to be also careful with the students of what they really want, what they declare that they want. Because, for example, in some cases, we had to return money and they were asking for, obviously, for housing, meals, but also the students asked, and it's the parents behind that, hey, you promised us that you'll teach face-to-face, you're going online, give us back what we paid as a tuition. So we had to return a certain amount of money. Then, and the parents say, my child wants to be with his or her friends in face-to-face environment. Guess what? I have in my building here a face-to-face class, and the student is lying to the parents that he cannot have a face-to-face class while the class is a face-to-face. He's just much more comfortable, not engaging or coming whenever he feels online, but playing parents against university administration. Just a thought.
Well, Doc, we have seen some of that too. We have witnessed some of that. In fact, probably not as extreme as you have, but our students, for example, have clamored that we should not charge fees, for example, for practical courses when there's no practical courses, or for services offered by the university when those services have been shuttered. And we have complied. I mean, we want to be fair. But the bottom line here will also be one of how universities are going to be funded in the future, how much students will pay, and what it is they will be paying for. And especially in societies where there is really economic distress among parents. Many may opt for whatever may be the least cost option, which is not always the best. I do as an engineer and someone who has been engaged in university education over many, many years, I do feel for students missing that face-to-face opportunity in an engineering class, in a laboratory setting, in very practical sessions, and the overall learning that occurs outside the classroom, but within a university campus. I think that is an experience that money can't buy, but it is costly to do it compared to only online delivery. Let me say to you, as I'm thinking through this subject, and I'm sure many are thinking through this, are we going to get to a stage at universities where we have tiered fees or tiered tuition? Face-to-face learning and living on a campus may very well become a very prestigious thing in the future. It may very well be the Cadillac of university education versus the Hyundai form of education or cheaper form of education. And universities may therefore get to a state where they are offering both, but at different prices. I don't know whether that has come to the States as yet. I'm sure it may be. It's not in Belize, but eventually I think you pay for what you get.
Right, new modalities are being developed now. I mean, we saw with Moodle what the Stanford did, and it had 100,000 students in the computer class. And then when the students, however, wanted to register as a credit, they said, but you have to pay for it. So you can attend, sure, but if you want a credit for it, you have to pay for it. So it's a menu option.
But can you imagine the windfall profits there? Immense windfalls there.
Difference between the norm and the mass.
Yes.
Okay, we have come to the end of this session due to time. I would like to thank Dr. Clement Sankat for your presentation. Thank you all for participating. Let's break off and meet in the standing committees at 1 p.m. Thank you.